Hey guys, Lewis over here, and this is Shelby, my 1995 Mazda Miata, and today I'm going to try to start her up for the first time in over a year. Come on. So you might be wondering why Shelby hasn't started in almost 2 years. Ever since I can remember, I've always loved cars, and all these years I really had nothing to show for it. So I figured this was the opportunity to do something pretty cool. So what I did was take a Chevy engine and the Miata and combine the two together. Started this project January 2017. Began by pulling a perfectly good Miata motor. Total noob, took a lot longer than it should have. Made a mess, I spilled some gas, yada yada. 3 days later, the engine rose from its cave. Oh, look, an engine bay minus an engine. Once that was out, had to make some cuts on the transmission. Yuck, that's ugly. Yeah, first time with an angle grinder. That was pretty uneventful, but cutting steel was like a good Tinder date. Sparks were literally flying. After that, I prepped the engine wiring harness. And for the first time in my life, I visited a junkyard. And after multiple trips there and the parts store, I got all the things I needed to dress up the motor. Lowered the motor in. Bolted it up. I converted the pedal from cable to drive-by wire. Then came what I figured would be the hardest part, taming the wiring harness bird's nest. Made the necessary connections. This actually is a lot easier than it looks. There's a guide online that's very easy to follow, and if you stick to it, you'll be alright. And after all that, it was time to start her up for the first time. After finalizing a few things like fuel lines, the clutch, and the exhaust setup, I couldn't resist. I drove the car for the first time around the block in 16 months. Man, just seeing the car under its own power after being apart for so long it's a great sense of just sheer accomplishment for me. So we're at the point of this build where pretty much everything has been buttoned up that I need to get it running. The clutch is fully broken in according to Flying Miata's instructions. So now the only thing left to do is to take her out for a spin. the first things I noticed, even while still breaking in the car, is the torque. There's lots and lots of torque, and it's ready to play. It's available on tap and instant pretty much from around 2500 maybe all the way up to redline, and passing at highway speed is pretty much a breeze. Conservative regular driving around town, I pretty much find myself getting by with just shifting below 3000 RPM. I would say it's night and day difference from the original motor. Still definitely feels like a Miata, it just has a lot more grunt, which makes sense because before I was making maybe 100 horsepower to the wheels, and now I'm somewhere between 170 to 190. I think a few guys with similar setup are making somewhere around 190, but I think my exhaust is not as good as theirs, so I'll say 170 maybe, conservatively. So, main reason for doing the swap was pretty much to prove to myself that I could do it, and I did that. But as far as the car goes, I wanted to do something substantial and involved, and not just, slapping some few parts on. I wanted to dramatically increase the horsepower, but I also wanted instant and kind of linear delivery. I needed to do it with as little money as possible, and with selling a bunch of parts off, like the engine, really helped keep the costs low. And I ultimately really wanted to keep the 5-speed that originally came with the car. I think it feels just absolutely beautiful. This swap, thanks to Ecotec Miata, this juncture has really checked all the boxes for me, and I feel like I've really been satisfied. So we're out here today, first time taking out Shelby to the autocross event. She's pretty much all ready to go. Got a lot of cars here today.
You figured it out, Nick? No, I have to wait for someone to get in the timing trailer.